Welcome to In Touch with Durham County. I'm Deborah Craig-Ray, General Manager of Strategic Planning and Innovation. Thanks to Zoom, here we are, socially distancing and bringing you some important information. So if you're a parent of school students living in Durham County, you might want to listen up today. Our topic is all about virtual learning. We've invited Dr. Nakia Hardy, Deputy Superintendent of Academic Services for Durham Public Schools, to share some wonderful strategies that we can all use to enhance the learning experience for our children. Remember, this is all new to them as well. In our second segment, we're going to introduce you to some very special Durham County employees, so you'll want to stay tuned for that as well. Well, Dr. Hardy, welcome to our show. We're so grateful you were able to join us today.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, would you please start the conversation by sharing a little bit about the dynamic role that you play with Durham Public Schools?
Thank you so much. In my current role, I have the great opportunity to work with our staff, our school board, our awesome superintendent, Dr. Pascal Mubinga, and really making sure that we're creating a virtual learning environment while we're in Plan C that meets the needs of all of our learners and that we welcome feedback from our community. I get to work with our strategic plan and other special projects as well.
Awesome. Now, our Durham students basically started this school year pretty much the way they ended last school year. But in general, how is remote learning now different from what it was last spring?
Yes, remote learning is very different than it was when we had our closure. As you know, Durham Public Schools was one of the first school districts to make the decision to close due to our pandemic. We closed prior to the governor's announcement. And that closure was in a different place than we were having time to plan throughout the summer. And so our focus this year, when we think about virtual learning, is really around connection to our kids, to content, and to feedback. As a district, we have adopted Canvas, our learning management system, and all of our schools have developed an online schedule, which you can find on your child's, on their school's website. And this schedule is a mix of what we call live or synchronous sessions. So time for daily for the children to log in and to see their teacher and to engage, as well as time for independent or asynchronous time. We also have built in on Wednesdays, our Wellness Wednesday. So the schedule this year is extraordinarily much more consistent than it was in the spring, and allowing our students to make that connection, not only to their teacher, but to their peers, that they're getting the academic content that they need and awesomely deserve, and that we are providing them feedback on their progress.
That sounds wonderful. Now, how are we supporting the children's social, emotional health during remote learning? I can imagine there's some challenges there.
Absolutely. I think that as when we think about 2020, we started this year. I don't think any of us would have imagined that we would be in September and have the year that we've had with our pandemic. I think we have to acknowledge that this pandemic has created isolation. It's impacted not only our children, our staff, but our entire community. And we're even having, birthday parties and other social gatherings in this same format. So the socialization that we're used to experiencing with school and in our lives has been impacted, which means that we have to have a focus on social and emotional well-being. Nothing else matters until we take care of those fundamental needs. I encourage all of our viewers to take a minute to go to embrace.dpsnc.net. That's our school district social and emotional learning hub. And what you'll see there are resources for parents, caregivers, students, and staff. I also mentioned before Wellness Wednesdays, and this is an opportunity for us to connect as a community. One of the things that I love so much about our Wellness Wednesday activities are our activities for cooking and dining in. You'll see there on those activities an opportunity for our students and families to cook together. Last week, as it was was still hot, but we knew the coolness was coming. Actually, last week's recipe was a Southern okra stew. So an opportunity for us to use fresh vegetables from the garden for parents and families to talk about and work together in the kitchen, and then to make something that can be shared by the entire family. There's mindfulness, yoga activities, all kinds of things there for our staff and students. Our student support services team, our counselors, they work with our students every day. We have small groups. Our social workers are making home visits. We are doing absolutely everything we can to meet our needs of our staff, but especially our students and families. Also, the partnerships that we've had have continued. So we have co-located mental health partners at each and every school, so students and families can access those resources. We truly do have a commitment to ensuring that we're meeting our social and emotional needs. So if you are in need of anything, please don't hesitate. Reach out to your child's counselor or your child's administrators, assistant principals, and principals, and we will connect you so that we can meet your needs during this time.
Thank you. That is so important that we really embrace our children at this time and just work to really meet all of their needs. And again, it's ever changing. Yes. So, thinking about the staff, I know you've got educators that are on site, and it's important that we keep them safe as well because obviously they want to do their jobs, but they want to be safe from the coronavirus. So, talk to us about what's going on in terms of what the buildings are looking like and what safety resources you have in place.
Absolutely. We work very closely with our operations team. Dr. Julius Monk is our Chief Operations Officer. We also have a large reopening task force that is made up of staff, staff, community members that really do provide us with details. And then we have the resources that we have received from the Department of Health and Human Services. So we make sure that all of our staff that enter the building follow our screening protocol. Our operations team has done a fantastic job making sure that our buildings are cleaned and disinfected and that we're regularly taking care of those high touch surfaces. Our teachers do have access to their classrooms so that they can provide the remote learning. Our buildings are, you can reach any of our buildings via phone and also any in person by appointment only.
Very good, very good. Now, I know at some point a decision will be made to bring the kids back. How will that work once we decide to bring them back?
So I think, there are a couple of things. I think first is that we have to note that making that decision is extraordinarily complex, and there will be lots of information that will be considered as our board and we make that decision. Once in person, that decision is made, I want to make sure families know that they will always have a virtual option. We have Ignite Online Academy. So when and if in-person decision is made for any group of children, that you will also have that option. We will make sure that we keep our students, as mentioned, and as you'll see in the resources that have been provided, that our children are socially distanced from each other, that our children are wearing a mask, and that we really do make sure that the screening protocol is followed for our students when and if they do return to in-person learning.
And I know recently the governor spoke about, allowing the elementary schools to come back in probably later this fall. So I can imagine you and your board and the superintendent will be working on those types of decisions soon.
Absolutely. As mentioned, this is a very complex decision, and every community in North Carolina is unique when you look at how they are responding to COVID-19. We work very closely with the Durham County Health Department and making sure that we look at that data. We also launched a survey to gather information from our families, our community, our students, and our staff. And so the board will be looking at that information. And this will be a topic of discussion at our upcoming board meeting that's occurring this Thursday.
Okay. Now, once you do go back to in person, say, do you think there'll be some parents that will be hesitant to allow their kids back? Would they prefer to continue online learning? And will that be an option?
Absolutely. And our Ignite Online Academy that has launched will always be available for our students and families. So if there are families that, when and if a decision is made for in-person learning, they will always have Ignite as an option so that they can make sure that their children can continue learning in the virtual environment.
Well, very good. Now, I know this is probably not so much of an issue in a Durham County, but I can imagine there are probably some families that may not have access to computers and hotspots. So, what is being done to help them continue to learn?
So I think that we've done a fantastic job, thanks to our operations team, the commitment from our school board and community to distribute Chromebooks and hotspots to families. Today in this virtual space, making sure that families and students have access to technology is just as important as water and electricity. It is a new, almost fundamental right that we have to make sure. For many of our families, I would say for our pre-K families and others that may not have access to technology, we have provided print resources for those families. We also want to make sure that that connection that I talked about. So, the foundation for us in this virtual space is connection, content, and feedback. And connection is the first word, because connection and relationships are so vital. And so making sure that our teachers and our other staff are connecting with our families. So you don't have technology, that might be a phone call, it might be a home visit for our social workers, but making sure that they have access into that connection so that we can meet and fill in any gaps that they might have. We also have offered more than, and there'll be several, and we want to make sure families know about our Family Academy and parent events, because we're offering them all the time to make sure that we provide support to our families. So there are evening events via Zoom where we do technology troubleshooting, how to become a parent observer in Canvas, how to make sure that you're connected to Parent Portal. So all of these kind of how-to really make sure that our families have the support that they need while we are in this virtual learning environment.
Well, I can attest that you do publicize a lot of your information, because I'm obviously frequently on social media and I see these announcements pop up on your website and on social media all the time. So just thank you so much for all of that. Yes. So you mentioned resources that are available for families. Are there particular places that they can go, websites, to find some of those resources?
Well, thank you so much for noting. Our public affairs department is doing a fantastic job in pushing things out, not only on our district website, but via all of our social media channels. And I would say, you start at the DPS website. We have a back to school page. And if you click on that, it's actually on the banner. You will see all kinds of resources. There's a parent online guide that talks about how to access Zoom and Canvas. All of our Family Academy events, the links are there so that you can join those events via Facebook Live. And we have those events in both English and Spanish. And so really those are, I would say, start at our DPS website and also go to your child's school's webpage. That's where you'll find your child's schedule. You'll also see lots of events and notes from our principals. And oftentimes, many of our schools are sending out weekly messages, either via school messenger or via their website. So those are the three key places that I would say. And definitely stay connected. Follow DPS on Facebook, on Twitter, and on Instagram.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I have to say you all do a fantastic job. So we're about out of time. Are there any final thoughts you'd like to share with us and keep us encouraged as we're going through?
We would just like to encourage our staff and our students and our families to continue to stay healthy. Our students and families, reach out to us. We are here to support you and your child during this time. Don't hesitate to reach out to your child's teacher or administrator if we can help. And we just want to say thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share some of the things that we're doing in Durham Public Schools. We are really all in this together.
Awesome. Well, Dr. Hardy, thank you so much for taking your time to join us. We are so grateful for the work and the planning that you and your teachers and administrator and superintendent and the whole staff of Durham Public Schools are doing to ensure that our children continue to learn during this most difficult time. Please share our thanks with everyone.
I sure will. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see you on the other side. Stay with us.
150 over 90.
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
Your blood pressure numbers could change your life. Lowering them could save you from having a stroke. If you've stopped your treatment plan, restart it or talk to your doctor about creating one that works better for you. Start taking the right steps at manageyourbp.org.
Now I'm, trying to get better, stronger than ever.
I hear someone go, "Didn't it come from you guys?"
Strangers cough at me.
Move away from me.
Someone spit towards my direction. All the stereotypes that we've worked so hard to break are just going to be reversed. And I won't let that happen.
We all have to play our part.
I donate my plasma.
I've been making masks.
We deserve respect as much as everybody else.
I'm a firefighter, not a virus.
I'm a mask maker, not a virus.
I'm a nurse.
I'm a delivery woman, chef, a neighbor,
Artist.
Bus driver.
I'm a doctor.
Fight the virus. Fight the virus.
Welcome back to the second half of In Touch. Durham County offices were mostly shut down earlier this year due to the coronavirus. However, during these months, we've had some very special Durham County employees working on your behalf. Some of them you see regularly, and some of them you never know they're around. And that's probably a good thing because they're great at doing their jobs. I'm pleased to introduce you to some of Durham County's On the Spot Award winners. These are award winners who've received a special recognition based on personal observation of the work they've done or feedback from our residents and from their fellow employees. At Durham County Government, service is always at the heart of all we try to do. And this is a recognition that we regularly and strongly encourage. During normal times, the county manager will actually visit the person's work site, present them with some words of encouragement, and also present them with a $50 check. Our public information team generally also accompanies him to take pictures of the event and to share that in our news outlets and on our social media. Permit me to mention just a few of these employees that have received this very special award during this time. I'm going to start with social services employees. Crystal Harris, Lynn Thomas, Sheila Dorset, Danielle Watford, Deborah Jones, Gail Burkby, Jaquetta Burnett, Coquita Saunders, Maria Viscano, Natalie Clemens, Veronica Mayo, and Ruby Fuentes. City County Inspections: Wyatt Blaylock, Tommy Smith, Dana Anebnit, and Jean Bradham. EMS: Michael McMillan and Tracy DeShazo. IS&T: Bert White, who also has the distinction of winning 2 awards. Aaron Stone, Les Hamashima, and Daniel Nosbush. In Finance: Tanya Hernandez. Emergency Management: Iris Shine and Taylor Davis. As I noted, our On the Spot Award is intended to recognize employees who have performed outstanding and excellent customer service. Congratulations again to all of our On the Spot Award winners thus far during 2020. We sincerely appreciate all that they do for our residents. Well, that wraps up today's show. I hope you've benefited from the information we've tried to provide. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next time on In Touch with Durham County. Cheers.